Hello, folks. This is Michael with the Reason RX podcast, number one podcast on education. If you want rational education, not necessarily rated number one, but it is your only source that we know of for rational ideas, effective, powerful ideas in education. So, this is Michael and my co host,
This is Melanie.
yes, Laughing Melanie. Like Kira predicted, as Kira predicted, laugh and then Melanie. Good job, Kira. Okay. So, today, folks, we're going to discuss the book Coyote America. We're going to have a book review featuring JKL. I'm teaching JKL, Melanie's kids, Jack, Kira, and Leo. We're teaching them science. You know, biology is the most important thing we got to work on. Physics and chemistry matter only insofar as they help us live. In other words, help us in our biological nature and survival. So, biology is very important, and we want to know about plants, animals, plants we can get nutrition from, animals we can eat. You know, we have, besides food, there's the joy of being in nature. It's where the context in which we evolved. So it's, I think, natural for us to be in that context and to care about it. And, you know, if we want good food, we should care about the requirements of our food. We should care about our plants and then the home of the plants. We should care about our animals, but then what makes them survive and thrive. So we got to dig into things like that. We got to know about the importance of worms, because without worms we could not have healthy soil, and then we could not have plants, and then we could not have good deer and cow and chickens to eat. Darwin actually wrote one of his last books on worms. He knew it was a very important biological topic of investigation. He did some research, experiments, studies on it for a long period of time. And we need to know about predators, because predators are important. And that's how we got into reading this book and motivating it. Who was it? The guy who studied starfish and how they affect an ecology and learned about the idea of keystone species. I don't remember his name right now. But I'll look it up and put it in the show notes. But he found out that, like, he asked, maybe his professor asked, why are there leaves in a class one day? And people thought, well, for chlorophyll and for the plant. And he said, no, why are there leaves? And then we're starting to think about the whole. This is where integration comes into play and the importance of not looking at things in isolation. We have leaves on trees because the insects are controlled because of predators. Some biologists think if it weren't for wasps and other predators, human beings would never have evolved. We would not exist because insects would have eaten all the plants because they'd be so much more effective at it than us. So we should get down on our knees and praise wasps and praise predators because they made our existence possible in evolution. Be nice to them guys. They're doing a big, major biological and ecological service for us. We pay them nothing, and look what they do for us. But we're talking about biology and the role of predators, and so I had him read the book Coyote America, and I recommend it, and we'll see what they say if they recommend it. But one caveat, a parent should look at there's, I think, 2 places where there's Native American stories about the coyote that parents might want to tear out or put a black marker through or something. Just those parts. I don't know, might not be appropriate for some kids or for some people. How would you describe it, Melanie? Just want to leave it like that, or
It's
what else?
actually, I was going to add to that it's just really found in the first few pages of the first chapter. I
Yeah.
mean, after that, I think it's a fine book.
Doesn't he mention it one more time later? I forgot.
There's like a kind of a myth that they have
Yeah.
that sort of has some stuff in it.
He brought that back?
But I don't think it's
I thought
the
it was
first
just in the
chapter.
first part. Well,
No,
But
I think
it's,
it's the
pretty
first chapter.
it's pretty soon towards the beginning.
yeah, I noticed it after like the first page turn or two. So and really the book is fine other than just that little bit. For the real young reader, it would probably just go over their head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some older ones might be kind of wondering what's that for and what. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's interesting, but with the right upbringing, I think you could use that as an explanation, you know, a moment of explanation possibly, but you may not want to be put there, you know, so that's why we're just kind of throwing that little cautionary advice out there.
So the book is rated G, but it's that one part we'll put some like a PG rating on, parental guidance. It's not my decision to make for any student or parent. It's parental guidance. They've got the right to decide, not me. But
In the notes, we'll just make a note of it in the notes, in the show notes. We can just say where.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. Good idea. What page? But it's a really good book about the nature of coyotes, how they were looked at by people, and the role they play in our ecology and their nature. Very good book. I'd recommend. So we'll see how far we get today. We have about half an hour. We'll see if we do a whole book review today or if we got to do a part 2. But as I say, I had Jack, Kira, and Leo, Melanie's homeschool kids extraordinaire, read the book and do a book review. And, you know, we have to do a good book review, and we're learning to write as well. So we go through numerous editions, numerous drafts before we find it satisfactory. So there, you know, that helps the ideas sink in more than they're thinking about them, as well as learning to write. And learning to write helps in all areas of life. So it's a very good exercise and assignment for them, I think. What do you think, Melanie?
Yeah, I think it makes them, it guides them, you know, in a sense of through the book. They had to kind of go back and encapsulate what they read, but it helps concretize the concepts that are found in there, which you do a great job in all of the stuff you teach them is seeing past the words and really understanding what's being discussed there and how it applies and relevant. So, I mean, the paper just concretizes all that. So
Cool.
It's great.
Yeah, beyond the name of the thing and look at the real thing, just like
Yeah.
in the movie Infinity about Richard Feynman, that scene we've watched numerous times in class about the dad saying, I could tell you the name of the bird, but all you know is what it's called. Look at the bird. See the bird. What does it do? How does it live? How does it fly? How does it sound?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the coyote, and that's a good point. It reminds me, we need to read things like this so we're not going by convention or fear. We need to know what the coyote is. What is the nature of the coyote? How does it work in our environment? And not have a fear take the place of a definition or any cognition about it and think, oh my God, it's a coyote. It's going to kill me. No. What is it going to do? Is your fear founded? Or is it not logical? So this book helps us really clarify things a lot. Jack, will you introduce yourself, please?
What?
That was Jack. Say hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
What's your name?
Jack.
How old are you?
11.
Cool. And Kira?
I'm 14.
And that was Kira. Say hi, Kira.
Hi, Kira.
Leo. Say hi, Leo.
Hi, Leo. I'm 16.
Yay, 16 going on 17. Okay. So, they're all homeschooled. And they are smart, nice, and contrary to, again, conventional, like, anti-wisdom, They are not antisocial. Jack, Kira, and Leo are not antisocial. That is like a ridiculous, nonsensical idea about homeschooling.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
I'm anti-socialist. Not
My first question I field from people when I say homeschool is, oh, do they have friends? Do they go out much and do stuff? I said, well,
No,
honestly,
we keep them locked in the closet
I
all the
said,
time.
honestly, I said our problem is we need to say no to more of the activities out and about. We need to get home and get studying, So yeah, no, it's never a problem. And every homeschool mom I know, they get the same questions, and the sort of misunderstanding about how homeschooling works.
Yeah.
We're not sitting in a dark room in the basement.
Yeah, like the kids I was talking about earlier, 2 homeschool kids I tutored. They were some of the nicest kids I've ever met. Well-mannered, polite, smart, engaging. They were both Eagle Scouts, too.
Wow.
And then you
good.
left the room.
Huh? I don't understand.
I'll get that later.
Okay, so so let's start talking about Coyote America, see what the kids think about it, JKL. So, Jack, what would you say the book's about? Like, what's the main idea or some of the themes in the book, some of the storylines, kind of? What is it about?
I would say it's mainly about coyotes and their history.
Cool. What do you mean their history?
Like
the
interaction.
ancient Roman history of the coyotes and the Egyptian history of the coyotes and when coyotes built pyramids and stuff like that, or what?
Yep.
The interaction of coyotes with humans over the years.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Good summary. What about you, Kira? How would you describe the main idea of the book?
Yeah, Coyote America sort of tells the history of coyotes in America mostly, and how they've been misunderstood all these years until only recently.
Cool. But I think, doesn't the book say, like, Native Americans understood the coyote, but then some Europeans didn't?
Yeah. But yeah, mostly for like the Europeans that came to America. That's where the misunderstandings lied.
Yeah. What about you, Leo? What'd you say the book was about?
Well, I think the book was about sort of like how it focuses more on how America as like a country sort of reacted to coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
Like how we treated coyotes during the Wild West, how we treated coyotes during colonial times, how we treated coyotes during the World Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And then how that affected coyotes.
Yeah. And then he talks about other things, of course, because we got to know, in contrast, how other people have thought about coyotes and what's possible and what's the nature of the coyote and where does it come from in evolution, right?
Yes.
Anything else you want to add to that, kids?
No.
Okay, so Jack, what did you like about the book? Okay, think about it. Kira, what'd you like about the book?
Well, I thought it went into a lot of detail. Like there were lots of examples of people and how they thought of coyotes, and they're more like modern stories and sort of myths. And it had all these great arguments and details, and it told like a lot of people and all these books that people wrote that were either for coyotes or against coyotes, and there's just like a lot of detail, a lot of information, and it felt very thorough.
Cool. Yeah, so it wasn't just airy-fairy abstract stuff that is boring and makes you fall asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm listening to a book now that could be a better. It's called The Biological Mind or something like that. And it's, something of a abstract, platonic, academic, kind of boring academic kind of style to it. And so I'm just kind of plodding my way through to see what they say. But it's such an interesting topic. They could be so exciting, and it's just so kind of, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But do you got some examples or concrete detail for those things, Kira?
Well, I mean,
Like some
they
actual
men-
books or people or whatever?
yeah, like they mentioned Mark Twain's book Roughing It, and how he sort of set the mood for coyotes in early 1800s, and how what he said about them, that they were like scavengers and they were horrible and miserable creatures. That sort of convinced people to start thinking like that.
Hmm. Yeah, so some guy who is uninformed and comes along and writes something, some fiction stuff. He doesn't really know about coyotes or their ecological role, and he writes some stuff. And he's known for caricatures and comedy and stuff, but people take it serious and literal. Because we're fission animals, there's a big social aspect to us, but one thing we need to use reason for is to make that fusion, that social aspect, rational and consistent with the world. But instead, people follow a lot of fads and fetishes and conventions and get silly ideas in their head. That leads to, like, in really bad cases, like Nazism, communism, all these people dying. So we got to be careful not to, like, fall into fashions and convention like that. And then it's not like, oh, it's a coyote, not us, who cares? Because doesn't the book talk about the bad effects that wiping out predators and coyotes has on us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. It does a good job of that, actually.
Yeah, so, Mark Twain is a good example. He was a big figure in the culture, influential in his writing. And then he's not like the only one, but him and others had some bad ideas that influenced the culture for the worse, right?
Yeah.
And the antidote is reason and logic, right?
Right.
And what about you, Leo? What do you like about the book? But I think one thing maybe you're not thinking of is, didn't this open your mind to things you didn't even know or never even thought about thinking about?
A little bit, yeah.
Just a little? You had thought about this already?
How to put this? I don't know. Well, I felt like the book made me, like, sort of it did open my eyes to the coyotes and how people have kind of persecuted them, and, like, will say stuff like, well, you better watch out for the coyotes, they're gonna get your dogs, when there's no evidence to suggest that that would happen.
Well, there's some, but just not as much. Not as much as people make it out to be.
Yeah, so, I mean, but I will say that it didn't really impact me as much as Soul of a Horse did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Soul of a Horse impacted me. Like, it made me reevaluate everything I thought about horses. Coyotes, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. The government wastes money on trying to kill animals. Okay.
Yeah, and in the meantime, kills other animals and kills dogs and hurts people. Spreads poison out through the environment. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So, kind of Soul of a Horse is more like a novel or a story, and there's a lot more value and feeling to it. But Coyote America is about kind of more dispassionate, talking about something.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the guy who wrote Coyote America, like, he clearly understood the subject, but he didn't feel as passionate as Joe Camp did in Soul of a Horse.
Yeah, and then it could be it's just a different purpose and different audience for the book. Not every book has to be or can be like Soul of a Horse.
Yeah.
You know, like I listened to Coyote America like 2 or 3 times or something like that because it's got some really good information in it, a lot to assimilate. What about you, Melanie? Why'd you like it?
Well, your last comment, I for sure felt like if I'd read it again, I would have probably even gotten a lot more out of it. Just the first time, it's so much coming at you. I
Yeah.
felt like it's nonstop. I love the sort of migratory path that he depicts in the book, you know, talking about how the coyote wasn't really in its original as it formed today as it was originally. And so it's very interesting, and the science behind some of the stuff he says. I particularly wanted to piggyback on Leo's comment about, you know, your coyotes will eat your dogs and cats. We have coyotes in the cities now. I mean, they're in all the major cities, and people are concerned about that. There's kind of, you know, letters to the editor in the paper all the time about, oh, did you guys see coyotes running around and stuff? So people are talking about, you know, watch out for your pets and your kids even and things like that. So a book like this, there'll be those who read it and go, wow, I hadn't thought of it like that. And then there'll be those that go, oh, this is all baloney. I know coyotes are evil and they're out to kill all of us. And you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the
You can't
reader,
reach 'em.
the reader brings its own open mind or not to the book. But I wish I had time to read it again because I think I would have even I'd value it even more, I'm sure.
Yeah, and the thing is too, it's like, I know for me at least, it's a book I want to read again. I read it the first time and it's like, whoa, I want to go over this stuff again. It's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Learn it better, delve deeper, remember stuff. Yeah. But
And I thought he even got into the terms used for a coyote. Like I grew up in North Dakota and they were all coyotes, you know.
Mhm.
So it was a very, you know,
Yeah.
very, pretty slanted view of him, but so interesting.
Cool. So, what'd you learn from the book, Jack?
Well, I kind of learned, like, think before you act, I think. So, you know, so don't kill all the coyotes. It'll affect you, even though you think it will help because they won't kill your livestock and stuff like that. But no, actually, it'll just worsen the situation, really.
Yeah, like the rattlesnakes on Scribe Vineyards, right?
Yeah.
The wolves in Yellowstone and the predators in the kebab, right? And then the purple starfish on the coast of Oregon.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Kira? What'd you learn?
Yeah, sort of the main theme, kind of like in Soul of a Horse, was that conventional wisdom is not necessarily right just because everybody believes one thing. They could all be thinking it. They could have all been thinking about it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
So sort of you got to look at the facts for yourself and figure out what's right or not, and not just believe everybody else because they think it's true.
Like we talked about in class, the physician Semmelweis, learned that people should wash their hands before they do surgery. And he was scoffed at, laughed at. Ha! We're gentlemen, we're clean, we don't need to wash our hands. Then all these women are dying because they're being idiots. That was conventional wisdom. Or the Wright brothers, if they would have followed conventional wisdom, you know, they wouldn't have learned how to fly a plane really far and make it turn.
Yeah.
So we need to be smart and use reason and logic to make conventional wisdom be actual wisdom and rational, and not just be like that chimpanzee we saw in the video where the chimpanzee sticks a piece of straw in her ear and how the others start doing it because the one's doing it. So a lot of people are like, there's like little chimpanzees with like straw in their ear. We shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
What about you, Kira? I mean, Leo, what'd you like about the book? What'd you learn from it?
What'd you learn from it?
Well, like sort of what I said earlier, like coyotes aren't this dangerous thing that's gonna chase after me for the rest of my life, like in Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it's been the opposite. we've been chasing after coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Then what do they weigh? Like 30 pounds? So if you
Yeah.
go running after one, do you think it's gonna like stay there and come after you, or do you think it's gonna run for its life?
Probably gonna run.
Like if you were 30 pounds and someone that weighed like 120 comes running after you, what would you do? Skedaddle. Or if you weigh like 100 pounds and some like big 400-pound mean-looking dude comes up after you, what are you gonna do? Run! Head for the
Bazooka.
hills. But all right, cool. So it's about 3 o'clock. We got to stop here. So we'll do part 2 of this next time. Because there's other things you learn from the book you're not saying, things we could talk about. We could talk about the pros and cons of the book and what if you'd recommend it and why. Get more discussion about it. But that'll be our part 1. It's a good start, good intro to Coyote America, the nature of the book, what you like about it, what you learn from it. And we'll repeat those questions next time when you've had more time to think about them. So, any last words, Jack?
No.
But you like the book and recommend it?
Yeah.
Kira? Last
Yep.
words?
Oh, yeah, I liked it. I'd recommend it.
Leah?
Yeah. But
What? Yeah.
but if you're kind of new to this whole questioning conventional wisdom thing, though, I would recommend Soul of a Horse first.
Good idea.
It's like Coyote America may not be the best starting point,
Mhm.
but I'd recommend it.
Good idea, Leah. Melanie, any last words?
Well, I guess thanks a lot, Michael, for introducing us to it, because I probably wouldn't have picked that book up and said, hey, let's study this for
Yeah.
purposes. So thanks again for giving us that exposure and holding these guys to a high standard with everything they do, the papers, and getting through them in a timely way, and just in general, the book is good. I do recommend it, and I hope that when people read it, they bring to it the same kind of open mind they might bring to, I don't know, like a movie that they see or something like that. So
An active, engaged mind, wanting to know what the truth is and feel accordingly. Because if we don't follow the truth, then we're following make-believe or lies, and we're going to get in trouble.
yeah.
Because in any battle between us and reality is always going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a book I recommend also. I liked it a lot. We'll talk about it more, as I say, in another episode we'll have soon. We'll do Coyote America book review part 2. All right. Thanks for listening, folks. And hope you're having a good day and everything. And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.